What if I told you that the most powerful thing you can do to a narcissist is nothing at all? They crave your reaction. They feed off your energy. But what happens when you go silent? The Stoics had a secret weapon, not swords, not revenge, but something far more devastating to the narcissist. Indifference. Let's dive in. A narcissist fears one thing more than anything else: losing control. To them, control isn't just about power, it's about survival. Their entire identity is built around manipulation, deceit, and psychological games. They twist reality so they can always stay on top, always be in charge. That's why the most devastating thing you can do is show them the truth. They were never in control to begin with. Narcissists don't care whether you love them, hate them, or constantly argue with them. In fact, they prefer chaos, because as long as they can keep you emotionally entangled, they win. Every reaction you give, every fight, every tear, every explanation is fuel to them. But the moment you stop playing their game, something extraordinary happens. Their power collapses. This is where Stoic philosophy shines. The ancient Stoics didn't try to dominate toxic people or seek revenge. They didn't waste time changing what couldn't be changed. They focused on mastering the one thing that no one could ever take from them, themselves. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is the battleground. That's where real victory lies. You don't defeat a narcissist with arguments. You don't outsmart them with traps. You defeat them with stillness, with indifference. That's what they can't handle. When you no longer flinch at their insults. When their mind games no longer touch you. When their words fall flat and your face stays calm. They panic. They'll try everything to suck you back in. Guilt trips, fake apologies, sudden kindness, or dramatic accusations. They might say things like, "I miss you. Why are you doing this to me? You're being so cold." But it's all an illusion. Once you see through the illusion, once you understand that it's all manipulation, you take back your power. You are no longer their puppet. You are no longer spinning in their toxic cycle. You are free, and the first step to freedom, starving them of attention. Let's begin. You've already learned the first step. Silence steals their power. Now comes the next, consistency. Because every reaction, every word, every glance still feeds them. Even when you're defending yourself, you're still giving them what they want. Your energy. They don't care whether you're angry or explaining. They just want to know that they still matter. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that's how you truly win. You don't argue, you don't explain, you don't react. You give them absolutely nothing. But this goes deeper than ignoring them face to face. It means cutting off every access point, removing them completely from your life. No checking their social media. No replying to late night "I miss you" texts. No asking mutual friends for updates. Even wondering what they're doing now. That's still giving them space in your mind. Narcissists are highly perceptive. They sense when you're still emotionally tied to them. And that's why, if you truly want to break free, you must go completely cold. No warnings, no closure, no drawn-out goodbyes. Just silence, clear, sharp, and final. At first, they'll try to comfort themselves with lies. They'll say, "You'll come back." They'll believe you're just punishing them. But day by day, as your attention disappears, so does their illusion of control. And that's when the unraveling begins. They'll start using new tactics. They'll flaunt a fake relationship. They'll post happy pictures, hoping you see. They'll pretend to have moved on, all in a desperate attempt to pull you back in. But remember, it's not real, it's theater. Their last-ditch effort to get any reaction from you, and this is where your power truly lies. Because the moment they realize they no longer live in your thoughts, that they no longer make you feel anything, they will experience a kind of pain they cannot escape. Nothing tortures a narcissist more than becoming irrelevant. If you want to weaken them, don't fight, don't engage, just let them starve. Way 2. Set unbreakable boundaries. Narcissist hates boundaries. They thrive in spaces where people feel too afraid, too unsure, or too emotionally entangled to say no. But once you draw a firm line, one that is non-negotiable, their grip begins to slip. Here's the catch though. It's not enough to set boundaries. You must enforce them. Because a narcissist will test every single rule you make. If you say you don't tolerate disrespect, they'll subtly cross the line just to see if you flinch. If you say you won't answer their calls after 9 p.m, they'll call at 9:05 just to test you. If you say you're done with toxic conversations, they'll bait you with drama, trying to pull you right back in. And here's the dangerous part. The moment you break your own boundary, even once they win, because now they know your limits bend. They just have to push harder, wait longer, and you'll fold. And once they see that weakness, they will exploit it again and again. That's why Marcus Aurelius warned, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. A Stoic doesn't waste breath justifying themselves to someone who refuses to respect them. They simply hold the line. So when you set a boundary with a narcissist, it has to be like a brick wall, solid, immovable, unshakable. That means no explaining, no defending, no exceptions. The more you explain why you need a boundary, the more they will twist your words, make you feel guilty, make you second-guess yourself. But you don't owe them an explanation. No is a complete sentence. And when they realize they can't bend your rules, they'll try to flip the script. They'll call you cruel. They'll say, you've changed. They'll play the victim and make it seem like you're the problem. Don't fall for it. It's just another manipulation, another trick to get you to lower your guard. So you've drawn the line. You've set your boundary. But here's the truth. That's only the beginning, because narcissists don't back down easily. They don't take rejection well. In fact, when they realize their usual tactics no longer work on you, they often escalate. They might try to smear your name, spread false stories, turn mutual friends against you. Anything to provoke a reaction, any kind of emotional engagement. This is where the real test of your boundaries begins. Will you collapse under pressure? Or will you hold your ground? A narcissist will always push. That's their nature. But how far they go, how long they try, depends entirely on you. If they see your boundaries are solid, unshakable, if they see that no amount of guilt, trips, manipulation, or gaslighting can crack your resolve, they'll begin to understand something terrifying. They've lost control. Way 3. Show no fear, embody Stoic calmness. A narcissist feeds on fear. They thrive when you feel intimidated, unsure of yourself, or dependent on their approval. They want you to hesitate before speaking your truth. They want you second-guessing your decisions. Because the moment you believe they have power over you, they do. Their control isn't rooted in strength. It's rooted in illusion. Like a magician, they distract you with emotional tricks and psychological manipulation. They don't possess real dominance, only the appearance of it. But here's the part they never expect. The moment you stop being afraid, the illusion shatters. The moment you stop reacting the way they expect you to, the game ends. Narcissists are not powerful. They are skilled performers. And like any illusionist, once the audience learns the trick, the magic disappears. So how do you show them you're no longer afraid? You remain still. When they try to intimidate, you stay calm. When they raise their voice, you lower yours. When they insult, accuse, or lie, you meet them with a steady, unbothered gaze. You don't flinch, you don't explain, you don't match their chaos with chaos. Instead, you meet them with something far more unsettling: calm, unshakable silence. That's what terrifies them. Someone who can't be controlled, who isn't ruled by emotional chaos. They'll test you. They'll bring up your past, twist your words, spread lies. All of it just to see if they can still make you crack. But don't bite. You don't owe a defense to someone who never listened. You don't explain yourself to someone who only wants to misunderstand you. You move as if their words hold no weight, because they don't. You act as if their approval means nothing, because it never should have. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been." This is how a Stoic meets conflict, not with denial, but with the recognition that you control your reaction. A narcissist is like a schoolyard bully, loud, intimidating, but deeply insecure. They project confidence, but inside, they are terrified of being exposed. When they realize you're no longer afraid, they scramble. They may try to guilt trip you. They may play the victim. They may lash out in desperation, anything to regain control. But none of it matters anymore, because once you reach that point where their presence no longer affects your peace, where their validation no longer defines your self-worth, you've already won. They'll say, "You've changed." They'll say you're cold, distant, ungrateful, but you owe them nothing. Not your guilt, not your energy, not your explanation. You don't apologize for growing stronger. You don't apologize for no longer being afraid, because the truth is, they were never as powerful as they wanted you to believe. They only seemed powerful, because for a time, you believed them. We saw how fear loses its grip the moment you choose inner calm over emotional reaction. But there's another way narcissists hold control, not through fear, but through guilt. And they're masters at it. One of their strongest psychological weapons is making you believe that you owe them an explanation. They want you to explain yourself, to justify your decisions, to defend your boundaries, because the moment you do, you're already on the defensive. You're already handing over your emotional power. When you explain yourself to a narcissist, you're not just sharing your thoughts, you're opening a door they will walk through with manipulation, guilt-tripping, and subtle gaslighting. But here's the truth: you don't owe anyone an explanation for how you live your life. You don't need to explain why you walked away. You don't have to justify why you set boundaries. You don't need to defend your peace, your healing, or your decision to choose clarity over chaos. Narcissists don't demand answers out of genuine curiosity. They ask questions to gather ammunition. They pretend they want closure. They act confused. "I don't understand why you're acting this way. Can't you just explain what I did wrong?" But the moment you engage, the moment you offer them that opening, they twist your words. They manipulate your reasoning. They pull you back into the toxic loop, the same one you worked so hard to escape. They'll say, "After everything I did for you, you're just going to leave." or flip the blame. Oh, so now I'm the bad guy. I guess I was never good enough for you then. They'll dismiss your emotions as if they're irrelevant. You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. This is ridiculous. And before you even realize it, you're defending yourself, again, arguing in circles with someone who never really cared to understand you in the first place. So what should you do instead? You stop explaining. You stop justifying. You stop feeling like you have to make them see your side. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing. What a good man should be one." That's the Stoic mindset. You don't owe them a debate. You don't owe them validation. When you say no, let it stand as a full sentence. When you walk away, do it without a monologue. When you protect your peace, you do it without their permission. At first they'll be confused. They're used to pulling you back in with guilt. They're used to watching you explain, defend, or plead. But when you say nothing, when you leave them with nothing to twist, nothing to argue, and nothing to manipulate, you take away their last weapon. And that silence, that calm and firm refusal to justify yourself, will drive them insane. Because nothing tortures a narcissist more than realizing they no longer have access to your mind. Way 5. Silence excessive. There's one thing even more painful to a narcissist than your silence. It's watching you succeed without them. They built their illusion of control on making you believe you needed them, that your success wasn't possible unless they were involved. But when you grow, when you thrive, when you rise without looking back, it shakes them at the core. Their worst fear becomes real. You never actually needed them at all. So when you achieve something meaningful, they'll downplay it. Anyone could do that. When you share an idea, they'll dismiss it. That'll never work. When you show joy or excitement, they'll shut it down. Don't get your hopes up. Why? Because your growth threatens them. Your independence is their nightmare. Your peace exposes their chaos. Because the moment you rise without them, they lose their grip on you for good. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." And that's why the most powerful thing you can do is succeed in silence. Not out of spite, not to prove anything, but because your life, your growth, and your healing are not for them. You don't need to convince them of your worth. You don't need to make them see what they refused to acknowledge. You simply keep building, keep rising, and keep moving forward without ever looking back. But what happens when they realize your life no longer revolves around them? At first, they'll try to stay relevant by inserting themselves into your narrative. They might say, "If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be where you are today," as if they were the reason behind your strength. When that doesn't work, they'll try to discredit your progress. You just got lucky. That's not real success. And if all else fails, they'll resort to subtle sabotage. I've heard people don't actually respect what you do. Everyone's talking behind your back. But here's the truth. None of it matters. Their words are not a reflection of your reality. They're a reflection of their own insecurities. The more you rise, the more they shrink inside. The brighter you shine, the more their darkness feels exposed. And the key, you don't engage. You don't argue. You don't defend. You don't give them the satisfaction of knowing their opinion still has weight in your world. Seneca once said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." That is your power move. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher, and release those who only ever dragged you down. There will come a moment when the narcissist finally realizes they no longer have access to your time, your peace, or your emotional energy. They'll see you growing, creating, building a life they once claimed you couldn't have without them, and that truth, that you never needed them in the first place. It will crush them. Way 6. Empathy without engagement. Narcissist expects one of two things: that you'll either fight back so they can paint you as unstable, or that you'll surrender, giving them the ego boost they crave. But what they don't expect, what they can't handle, is calm empathy without emotional entanglement. You see, they feed off your emotions, your frustration, your pain, your rage. They twist the truth, provoke you, push your buttons. Because, as long as they can control how you feel, they control you. But when you respond with calm, quiet understanding, when you see through their tactics without letting them pull you in, they lose control. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's the key. You don't allow them to pull you into their emotional illusions. You recognize the manipulation, and you don't take the bait. Let's be clear, showing empathy doesn't mean excusing their behavior. It doesn't mean giving them another chance. It doesn't mean letting them back in. It means understanding, without surrendering, because beneath their arrogance lies fear. Fear of inadequacy. Fear of being unlovable. Fear of losing control. They hurt others because they don't know how to face their own pain. When you see this, you stop taking their cruelty personally. You stop trying to prove anything. You stop wasting your strength trying to make them understand something they are too afraid to admit. You simply observe with quiet, detached empathy and move on. You don't argue. You don't try to fix them. And most importantly, you don't allow them to pull you back into their cycle, because nothing unsettles a narcissist more than realizing they can no longer control your emotions. Way 7. Leave and never look back. Narcissist never really believes you'll leave. They assume you've been conditioned to stay emotionally dependent, mentally tied, sometimes even financially trapped. They believe that no matter how toxic it gets, you'll always come back. And that's their biggest mistake. They play the push and pull game better than anyone. One day, they make you feel worthless. The next, they act like you're everything they ever needed. But once you walk away, truly walk away, and never look back, the game ends, and they lose. In the last chapter, we exposed the illusion of control, the narcissist's greatest weapon. But now comes the final move, walking away for good. Because nothing terrifies a narcissist more than realizing you've made up your mind, and you're not coming back. These people drain your energy, erode your self-worth, and convince you that they're the only ones who ever truly cared. And if you've ever tried to leave before, you already know they don't let go without a fight at first. They'll make promises. They'll suddenly say all the things you'd waited years to hear. They'll act reflective, as if they've experienced some great personal transformation. They'll swear they regret everything, every hurt, every word, every game. They'll mirror the love and kindness they once denied you, but not because they've changed. Not because they finally understand your pain. They do it because they feel you slipping away, and they know if they don't act fast, they'll lose control. That's why leaving a narcissist is not just about physically walking away. It's about closing the door for good, because they will try everything to pull you back in tears, apologies, guilt, false promises, a brief display of affection that feels real until it isn't. But you must remember one absolute truth: a narcissist doesn't change. They only change tactics. The only way to break free is to never give them another opportunity to play the same old game. This is not about waiting for the perfect apology. This is not about hoping they'll finally get it. This is about recognizing the pattern for what it is. A cycle of control disguised as connection. To break that cycle, you must break the trauma bond, cut off their access, refuse to be baited, guilted, or tricked into starting over. Because when they see that love bombing doesn't work, they'll shift to guilt. They'll say things like, "After everything I did for you, you're just going to leave. So now I'm the villain. I guess you never really loved me." And if guilt doesn't work, they'll turn to rage. They'll insult you, attack your character, spread lies, say anything to make you crack. But you must not waver. You must understand, their words are weapons, not truths. Their tears are manipulation, not remorse. Their desperation is about losing power, not losing you. That's why the only way to win is to walk away, completely, without explanation, without a goodbye speech, without one last conversation, hoping for closure. Because narcissists don't offer closure, they offer confusion. They don't end cycles, they restart them. The only closure you will ever find is the one you give yourself, by choosing peace over pain, by choosing you. And yes, it will hurt. It will feel unfamiliar. It might feel like withdrawal, because for so long you were conditioned to believe that love requires suffering, that pain is proof of connection. But that was the lie. That was the illusion they fed you until you believed it. Once you see through it, once you take back your power, you realize leaving was never about them. It was always about you. Conclusion: your power lies in walking away. Narcissists' greatest fear is not losing you. It's you realizing that you never needed them in the first place. The greatest power you can ever hold over a narcissist is this: to take back your life, to deny them the control they crave, to refuse to react, to argue, or to explain. Because the truth is, you owe them nothing. Not your time, not your energy, not your emotions. When you stop feeding their ego, when you set unbreakable boundaries, when you show them they no longer have any power over your mind, they lose. And when you rise without them, when you heal, when you walk away and never look back, you win. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." That's where freedom lives, not in fighting them, not in proving yourself, but in choosing peace over chaos, wisdom over reaction, detachment over destruction. A narcissist expects you to fight, to defend, to keep playing their game. But when you walk away in silence with strength, and you never let them back into your mind, you leave them powerless. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't need to prove a single thing. You only need one thing: to free yourself. And when you finally do, you'll realize the truth. You were always strong enough to walk away. You were always capable of building a life they could never control. And now you have . The only question left is, are you ready to reclaim your power?